Good afternoon. This is the Board of County Commissioners public hearings. It is Tuesday, December 6, 2022. It is 1:30 p.m. This public hearing is on the 2022 through 2023 biennium midterm budget, transportation, environment, and land use, community planning and economic development, and public works. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. Also in the boardroom, we have County Manager Romero Chavez, Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell in the podium, and Jamie Caldwell, Clerk of the Board. So we'll go ahead and get started, and I'm passing it straight to you, Robin.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Robin Campbell, Assistant County Manager, and this is the day 2 of the public hearings on the midterm budget adjustment for the 22-23 biennium. I'll start off with a very high-level overview of the budget, give a description of how the hearings work, and then we'll start just working our way through the budgets for the departments. Today, as you stated, Commissioner, we'll look at the budgets for transportation, environment, and land use, mainly the operating side of the budget, health and human services, which includes emergency management. At 4 o'clock, we'll have a hearing specifically on revenue that supports the budget, and that will include information about property taxes. At 5 o'clock is your public hearing on adjusting water and sewer rates in Thurston County run utilities. And then at 6 o'clock, a more in-depth overview of the budget and an economic outlook. So that's what we're looking at for the rest of the day today. In a midterm adjustment, they're very limited, if you will, on the types of things that the board considers funding. So in every odd-numbered year, the Board of County Commissioners adopts a biennial budget. And for a biennial budget in a county, state laws require that we have a midterm review and a modification for the second year. So that's exactly what this is. As I stated, the midterm, the types of things that the board considers are limited, grants, technical adjustments, unanticipated actions, emerging needs are the main things that you consider when you adopt the midterm. The preliminary budget was published on November 18th on the county website. We had a comment from a citizen that it was missing a very specific item that is called for in state law. And when we looked at it, the budget did indeed, one of the requirements is that you have the first 6 months of expenditures for the current fiscal year. The report that was run picked up 2021 rather than 2022. So we have prepared the report that has the first 6 months of actual expenditures of 2022. It is posted on our website and is available to anyone who would like a copy. Then finally, notice of the budget hearings were published in the Olympian on November 21st and 28th, also as required by law. This is a very high-level overview of the budget. In total, both operating and capital budgets, we're anticipating $537 million in revenue this year, and we will spend $508 million of that. In 2023, revenue is predicted at just under $423 million. We anticipate spending $516 million next year. And that is mainly because we have built up some pretty significant fund balances, and the board is addressing those through planned spending that will bring the fund balances down. This afternoon, the public hearings will be for each office and department. I will give a very high-level overview, and the budget amount for the department. And I will invite the elected or appointed official to make comments if they would like to. Then any member of the public who would like can make a comment to the Board of County Commissioners or ask a budget-related question to the office or department official. The officials will answer the question. Then we'd move on to the next person. Once anyone from the public has asked what questions they have, then we introduce the next office and department, and along we go, and then we'll recess between sessions. So we'll be here most of the afternoon. Any questions about the process?
Questions, Commissioner Edwards, Commissioner Munster? No questions
Right.
for me.
Well, then we will jump right in. For the 1:30 session, we will hear two departments, the Community Planning and Economic Development, also called CPED, is first, and then Public Works. Community Planning and Economic Development is led by Director Josh Cummings. The core purposes of this department is to establish and administer land use regulations, development, and construction permits, compliance with federal permits for stormwater standards. They also operate the WSU Extension Services and oversee the county fair. So it's pretty broad. The budget this year for CPED includes an increase in the general fund contribution for development services. That is to sustain the fund balance. There is a salary increase for WSU Extension staff. There is grant funding for WSU Extension. There is a grant for the Olympia School District Environmental Literacy. There is a grant for community planning for the Martin Way Corridor. There is funding for a tree canopy agreement and community planning funding for education and outreach around the Growth Management Act. The budget for CPED, there are 66 FTEs in this department each year. General funds, $4.4 million in '22, $4.9 million in '23. And total funding for this department, $12.4 million in '22 and $13.5 million in '23. Josh is here if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Assistant County Manager. Hello, Commissioners. I am Joshua Cummings, the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development. I just wanted to say a few quick thank yous. This has been a big year, 2022, and the direction of the Board of County Commissioners has helped make sure that that path was clear and what we were to accomplish. The Budget Office has been a huge help. We transitioned our budget fiscal manager in CPED, and during that period and transitional period, the partnership with the Budget Office and CPED continues to just be strong, and I appreciate all the great work that has gone into the budget and the accuracy therein. So barring any other questions, I just wanted to say thank you and appreciate the great direction.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
Maybe just a quick question for Josh. How many FTEs, it shows you have 66 positions allotted for, but how many empty positions do you have?
I'll get that accurate number. It changes and fluctuates. Right now, I think we have 4 or 5 open positions that we're working to fill.
That's fine.
But yeah, 66
all I
is
need.
a lot of amount.
That's it for me, man.
Thank you. Commissioner Munster, questions? Okay.
All right. This is when members of the public would be invited to comment or ask questions.
Okay, so we will start with members of the public in the boardroom, and then we will move on to Zoom if we have any. And we only have one in the boardroom, Mr. John Pettit.
Thank you, Commissioners. I guess I'm going to make a quick comment to you before asking a couple of questions, as that was laid out for us. I had a really interesting morning this morning. I went over to CPED. I recently had a fire in my shop building over there, and so I applied for a permit. And of course, we don't issue permits the day that you apply for it. I applied a week ago. And then I come back in and they, because I thought, well, I'd like to pick it up before they go quiet for a week. And I'm informed that I have a violation on my property from 2011 that bars me from getting a permit to fix my roof of my building that got burnt. Now, 2011. I happen to know that Mr. Menzer and Mr. Edwards have at times both been there on my property. And something from 2011, this seems to be more of a delay situation, but it suddenly sounded real familiar to some of my other clients that I work with land use issues. So I wanted you to be aware of that because, as you know, Thurston County almost has a reputation of the department over there being the department of resistance to permitting. And so at this point, I'll throw a couple questions over for Joshua Cummings. Actually, we get along pretty good together overall. We may have disagreements, but is the current process causing additional cost and delays in permitting processes because anyone that applies has to move forward with a full review of the history of whether there's ever been a violation, whether those have all been cleared or not? Would more employees help? Just a quick example is that I go to a restaurant, I order a meal, I don't expect them to tell me, you come back in 2 weeks, we might have it ready for you. We like to have things when we order it. And so do we need more assistance to get things processed? Is it a lack of people and more funds necessary for that? Or is this a process or an element that's part of what happens here in this county? Another question was, at one point, there was discussion about Thurston County is known to have virtually the highest fee schedule for all types of development and such. And have we made any progress towards that review? And has anything been submitted to make adjustments to put it more in line with what the adjoining counties and areas throughout Western Washington happen to be? That's it.
All right, I appreciate the questions. Make sure I got this right. The first one is the question on causing any process delay for a permitted process. And the answer to the first part of your question is you are correct that if there is a violation on a property, it must be cleared before any other permits can be issued. That's per the Thurston County Code. This is the first I've heard of your application. We'll look into it. Thank you for that input. We think of things in terms of people, process, tools. And people are our number one important part of our organization. We have had turnover over the past few years, and we're working to get the right people in the right positions and trained up. In terms of process, this year we implemented what's called the project review timeline, worked to eliminate and reduce the bring me another rock back and forth scenario. It's still in process, but we're working to implement that entire CPED wide and in partnership with the other two departments, Public Works and Public Health. And then third, in terms of tools, we've really had to work hard at the old antiquated software system that we have for our permit tracking database. And I believe the Board of County Commissioners is working to resolve that issue in the new year. I know that our IT department is working with a vendor to try and upgrade our systems. But those three things, people, process, tools, are where the permitting process really continues to move forward. And in terms of delay, there's also the part that the applicant plays, that they need to also recognize that having a full and complete application will lead to an opportunity for a full and complete review. And that back and forth is where we're working to try and really communicate with the customers of Thurston County. So if there's more that we can do to provide information and help you and others understand our process, we're open to it. But we're working very hard on the people, process, tools, and living our values of transparency, consistency, and accountability. So thank you for your comment.
Josh, there was a question about
Second
the
question.
fee study.
Fee schedule, thank you. The second question on fee schedule. We have, first off, the perception that we are the highest. That's not, I'm not clear where that came from. We did do a brief overview of comparison of fees last year, and it showed that we were middle high, middle low, depending upon which fee you assessed. We do have in the budget, and we've been working through the RFP process to hire a contractor to do a full fee schedule for the external look at how our fees compare and what we can do to adjust them to adhere to making sure that applicants have a good path forward. One of the things that we do know that we're one of the last counties to continue with the 100% cost recovery. And that is one of those things that we're going to be looking at in the fee schedule. So it's not just the amount of the fees, it's also how we charge the fees and that 100% cost recovery. So lots of things on the horizon on that, and thank you. We are addressing that as well. Appreciate that. Thank you for the reminder.
Do you have anyone on Zoom, Romero?
Yes, sorry. Yes, we do have somebody in Zoom, Mr. Tom Crawford. Do you like to provide testimony or ask any questions related to the community planning and economic development budget?
Yes, good afternoon, commissioners and staff. I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time, but I do have some comments about your financial commitment to climate action within the county budget. Is this the appropriate time for those comments?
I think there will be an opportunity later on for general comments. If you have specific questions related to the community plan and economic development budget, we'll be more than happy to entertain this question, sir.
Okay, can you provide a little more clarity as to when would be the appropriate time for me to
We
make
have a
comments?
schedule this afternoon at 6 o'clock where we have open comments for everyone related to all the aspects of the budget, and that will be an opportunity for you to exercise your
Okay,
comments.
thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. So do you have any comments specifically to community planning and economic development?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so now moving on to Public Works. This is a very short slide for a very large agency that does a whole lot of things that support the infrastructure that supports the community. Public Works is led by Director Jennifer Walker, and its core functions are around roads and transportation, solid waste, noxious weeds, lake management districts, utilities, parks and trails, and storm and surface water management. In this budget, there's funding in 2023 to form the Pattison Lake Lake Management District. There is a proposal for the increase in the water and sewer utility rates. There's a transfer of general fund to cover the Lake Management District's internal service rates for existing LMDs. It extends the end date for a position that will support the department in the conversion to the county ERP. And there are funds in the capital, rather there are funds for projects, capital projects in the capital improvement plan. Public Works has just under 205 FTEs in each year. The general funds are $904,000 in 2022, $920,000 in 2023, but total funds for this department including capital, are $78 million in 2022 and $89.5 million in 2023. So Public Works has a very substantial budget, mainly to support capital projects. And I would invite Jennifer Walker.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I will keep it short and sweet. I have the privilege of working with very smart, dedicated public servants. Some of them are with me here today. I want to thank them, as well as all of the Public Works Management staff for their hard work on the budget, specifically calling out Karen Weiss, the Assistant Public Works Director, who's done a phenomenal job, as well as support from the Budget Office. Thank you very much. Thank you to the Board of County Commissioners for your support during this process. I know you had a lot of really tough decisions to make, so I appreciate the work that you've done as well.
Thank you. Any questions for Jennifer, Commissioner Edwards?
I'm not sure about if it's for Jennifer or for Robin, but on the ERP position for the public, so that we're not using acronyms.
ERP, Enterprise
Resource Planning.
Resource Plan. Yeah, see, well, that's the new acronym. Yeah, we're calling it TC Connect. An ERP is a comprehensive financial HR payroll budget system, and the county is in the midst of implementing that system now. And for Public Works, one of the things that we're doing in implementing the ERP is we're going to decommission a system that Public Works uses called CAMS. Eventually, we'll decommission the system. It is a extensively integrated system in Public Works, and the lift to convert to the ERP it's quite a big lift. So this position is specifically to assist the department as we convert.
Okay, and there's an $11 million difference between 22 and 23, right? Somewhere close to 11?
Yeah, the figures that are up here actually don't include our capital program, so our numbers are actually a little bit higher than that, but usually that variance is the capital program that makes the difference.
And just for the public, kind of the gist of the biggest portion of that is going, what, roads, bridges, fish enhancement, what?
Solid waste.
Solid
We have
waste
some solid
issues?
waste projects. We have some parks and trails. It's a combination of all of the systems. So our water and wastewater, we've got some projects there as well.
Okay, thank you.
I always forget solid waste. It is a huge fund in the county budget. I know how.
Now, self-sustaining, I might.
Oh, yes, very much so.
Commissioner Munzer, questions?
Commissioner Edwards covered it for me.
Yeah, I was thinking Parks and Trails wasn't on here. I know that we heard a lot of community input on maintaining and expanding our current trail systems, so that was something that we budgeted for next year, so it's pretty exciting. Okay,
Okay, moving on to the public segment.
so we'll do the same. We'll move on to members in the boardroom, and then we'll move on to Zoom. And there's only one member in the boardroom, so Mr. John Pettit, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm quick little comment. I have not been made aware yet of the, from the road fund, taxes collected for roads, how much is being transferred over to the general fund. I kind of find it interesting. I think it's probably in the $3.75 million range. And then, of course, you're going to give them about $920,000 of general fund back to the department. So that is a continuing, ongoing concern. I've stated this year after year because the people in the unincorporated county depend upon their roads. We're entitled to have service, and the taxes that were created for that purpose have now been misguided, in my opinion, by about 20% of it to go to other purposes. So on to some good questions. Okay, this last year, I'm not really sure how many miles of road were maintained, but I was thinking it was, the level was somewhere in the neighborhood of 42 miles. I'd like you to be able to confirm those type of numbers. And if I recall right, the county has between 1,000 and 1,100 miles of road surface. On a regular type schedule for maintenance, how many miles should be maintained? And based upon the budget that you're receiving for next year, how many miles are we going to get to maintain? That is a projection. Of course, costs have gone up a lot. Then I guess I'd like a comment also back in regards to just choosing not to maintain the roads at this time. Does that add additional cost to later maintenance that needs to be done on these facilities, these roads, because they haven't been maintained on a quick enough schedule that they decline to a greater degree? And my concern, my quick closing comment too is that I don't want to make Josh feel bad, but of all the departments, I have to tell you, I have great respect and appreciation for Public Works. You guys practically run the county. They kind of pretend they're doing something, but you guys kind of make it keep operating for us, and it's greatly appreciated. And you've done a great job with snow removal and everything else that I can tell. So if you need more money, I guess you kind of got to get it out of your own tax base and process, because you don't really get anything from the general fund. Thank you.
So I'll answer part of the question, and then I'll have the county engineer come up and speak to the rest. I would say that in terms of maintenance, we maintain almost 1,100 miles. I think specifically you might be referring to the preservation program, and so I'll have the county engineer speak specifically to that. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Scott Lindblom, County Engineer. And so, yes, in 2022, we did overlay 42 miles of chip seal, or overlaid 42 miles of roads with chip seal. We did another about 4.9 miles of pavement overlays, and we rebuilt with our capital projects about 1.6 miles of road. In a perfect world, what we would like to see is about, this would be a general sense, about 100 miles of a combination of overlaid chip seal, crack seal, road reconstruction. That's a pretty general, high-level sense, but certainly more than we did this year and more than we've historically done for quite some time. Your other question for 2023, we are anticipating doing a pavement overlay program next year, and I can get you the exact numbers of miles that we're planning on at this point. Probably about 20 miles, but I can get you that exact number if that'd be helpful. No, next year will be overlays. Yeah.
Just to make sure, Mr. Tom Crawford, would you like to ask any questions or provide comments related to the Public Works budget?
No, thank you very much, though.
Thank you. So I'll be calling you on every single item, just in case.
Yeah, I probably won't stay for the entire session this afternoon, but
Okay.
thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir.
Okay, questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No further questions. Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Munson?
If I could ask to kind of connect two dots that were raised by Mr. Pettit, that he asked about the current remaining shift number, and then connecting that to the cost of the, like how much, like whatever number you give, then I'm wondering how much more overlay that would pay for, you know, so we could to see how much that would close the gap of 100 miles, if that's the target that I heard Scott say. We did like 50 miles last year combined. You know, just could we connect those dots?
Sure. Well, I can start by saying that the Board of County Commissioners has once again decreased the amount of the levy shift. You've done this 3 years consecutively now, slowly stepping down from the high. And in 2023, you will shift $2,250,000 from the road fund levy to the general fund levy. That is in addition to 1.5 million of road diversion that is transferred to the general fund specifically to pay for traffic safety activities performed by the sheriff's office. So,
then-
yeah.
Perfect. And then that 2.25 million, Scott, how much would that, how much further would that get us to our maintenance goals if that was all put toward? I forget the numbers of how much it costs per mile to do overlay and chip seal.
Yeah, great question. What I can tell you is what we kind of planned for about a year or so ago, but we've seen a significant cost increase over the last year of materials and all those things to the order of about 20%. So what we had talked about, say, a year or so ago, off the top of my head, if I recall, it was about $350,000 per mile for overlay, about $1.25 million per mile for a road reconstruction. Chip seal, what we found this year was about $80,000 per mile. Historically, we've been planning on about $50,000 to $60,000 per mile, but again, due to those cost increases in 2022, we saw that cost go up to about $80,000, $81,000 per mile for chip. So as we look ahead to 2023, we expect, and we'll have to revisit those planning level numbers because I expect they'll be significantly different. And if I could just add on one point for 2023, so we're planning on, again, about 20 miles or so overlay. We also expect to do additional crack seal, so the miles will increase above that. Our crews may do some limited pavement overlays, so there'll be more than just the overlay, the 20 miles again or so of overlay next year.
Maybe just to add to the whole conversation, maybe the board may remember that you also invested on an ongoing preservation program using the real estate excise tax too. And that has been a significant contribution to the preservation program to public works. And I believe it's in the order of $1.5 million a year. And it's not a one-time, it's ongoing. And that is also needs to be highlighted in terms of your contributions and your decisions to the preservation program of public works.
Okay.
No other.
Any additional questions, comments, commissioners?
All right, so those are the two departments at the 130 segment. I want to extend my deep appreciation to all of the staff who came today and all of the work that all of you and the departments have done to get the budget to the state that it's in. And then the next group will be at 2:30. We'll hear about public health and social services and emergency services. Yes.
So we will be in
Can I
the,
ask one question before?
yes, go ahead, sir.
Yesterday, Robin, you mentioned the bond rating and it was Moody's.
Yes.
And I was hearing that and I was thinking about it later after the meeting and I really should have asked some follow-up questions because we had in September a bond rating increase from Standard & Poor.
Yeah, S&P.
S&P, and this is Moody's, and this is another rating house.
This is a different rating house, yes.
And a similar uptick of one notch up, and it sounds like similar reasoning behind that decision. And are those putting that in context, are those the two big ones, or are there other ones out there?
There is a third, and I couldn't tell you what their name is. The county has worked with either Moody's or S&P. Those are the two big credit rating houses that I'm aware of. I believe if you do a Google search, there is a third one. But it's pretty exciting that both of them raised our rating up.
And the rating sounds like it was different because in one it was like AA+ to plus or something, and the other one was, you called it AA2 to 3 to 2 or
That's
something
right.
like that.
They both have their own rankings from AAA at a high to D rated bonds, which are never invest in a D-rated bond. But in each category, D, C, B, A, then double A and triple A, within each of those has 3 levels. I think it's one of the rating houses does 1, 2, 3, with 1 being the highest, and then the other does plus, standard, and minus. So in both, we are a double A ranking at the highest of that ranking level.
And is that, like, did you expect that? I mean, do they usually kind of track each other that closely? Or is that kind of, was that kind of a surprise?
Generally, they're pretty close. Generally, though, what surprised me was that we got a new rating from Moody's. Usually, we only have a credit rating at the time we're planning to go out for bonds. Each of the rating houses tracks our bonds that had been issued. Moody's, however, it's my understanding, had gone through a massive re-examination of local government credit ratings, and Thurston County there were quite a few that were considered for a downgrade, and Thurston County was one of the lesser number that was considered for an upgrade, and then we got the upgrade. So I got a letter one day from Moody's that said, you're being considered for an upgrade. That was the surprise.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
One
Commissioner.
quick question.
Go ahead.
How many employees are down in Public Works? Just roughly.
Vacancies? How many vacancies have you got?
We have been hovering just around 10%. So I think right now we might be at 17 vacancies, but
That's close. Just trying to keep a rough idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we will continue in the same Zoom at 2:30 PM. We will pick up with Health and Human Services, Public Health and Social Services, and Emergency Services at 2:30 PM. So with that, it is 2:07. We are on break until 2:30.